Transfer portal wise, Cameron Stewart of Locked On Baylor. The Baylor Bears have seen 3 wide receivers go away. The Utah Utes have seen some surprising guys jump in the portal. Colorado has become an absolute portal dumpster fire. You look at even the UCF, who's lost a couple of key guys that were surprising. And I start to wonder if the Big 12 itself has become a minor league for the SEC and the Big 10. And I wonder even more so, why haven't we seen a lot of commitments in? Like Max Fletcher, the punter for Arkansas, who's going to Cincinnati, is the only guy right now that they've officially locked in. Why haven't we seen more players coming to the Big 12?
I don't even know the full answer here. I will say this is where, we had these discussions when the first expansion came to the Big 12, and what is that, 2 years ago now, that it was announced. And it was, well, what are the brands in the Big 12? You're losing the only 2 brands, and fans could not care less about that. Like, who cares what the brands are? It's just the teams and the coaches, and that's what we care about, right? But this might be where you start to see it. And because a big part of this is, don't overthink it. It is the NIL money that is coming in. And, if you look at a place like, I can transfer to Cincinnati or I could transfer to Iowa, and I have a chance to play at both of those. Wow, like I'm going to go to Iowa where I can get a little bit more money and the team's a little bit better. Or maybe to use another example, it's I'm trying to think of like a UCF or a Nebraska, 2 teams that are on kind of an even plane, but Nebraska can pay you a lot more money. I unfortunately think a lot of it does come down to that. And let's be honest, I mean, this is a very year-to-year thing for these college football players. It wasn't a great year for the Big 12. It wasn't a banner year. I mean, they did have a team in the playoff, but you had a team face them in the conference championship that was no match, no contest. And so it's been actually a tough couple of last 2 years competitively for the Big 12, even though they've sent a team to the playoff both of those years. So it's quick cycles when it comes to this thing. If you have 3 Big 12 teams in the top 10 postseason rankings this year, that will help next year in the transfer portal. I'm not saying they're like, this team was ranked 9th and this one was 17th, but that just brings a lot more attention to your conference during bowl season, during the conference championship, and during what we just went through last weekend with the NFL draft. And those are the things that these guys look at.
I don't think we can call the transfer portal an inherently bad thing. Reason being, I'll bring up a guy like G.J. Kinney, who's been a popular name around Baylor's parts for a guy who's a potential head coach in the future if Dave Aranda doesn't work out. G.J. Kinney was at a different location in 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 2023. He bounced around year to year to year. And there are a lot of coaches who do that on a 1, 2, or 3 year plan. And a player not having that same right when they can go and continue their career and progress up just doesn't feel as though it makes sense. I mean, the idea that a player can now do what coaches have been able to do for all of time isn't a bad thing. How do you build more restriction, or do you keep it where it is? Because certainly it's chaotic, but now there's more autonomy for a kid to do what's best for himself.
Yeah, that's definitely the end all be all, is that transfer portal and NIL are good for the athletes, and that should be good for everyone in theory, right? The fans, the coaches, the administrators, but there will be pushbacks to all of that. And I think what will happen here, because I would love some sort of restriction, but it's kind of like how I feel about gun control. So you can put that in the SEO of the YouTube title. It's going to get a lot of people going. It's like, I would love a solution, but I don't know what the solution is in terms of restrictions on NIL or restrictions on the transfer portal. I would love it. And maybe it is like a transferring twice thing and you got to sit out. Maybe that's it. But I think what will happen, Drake, probably before we even find out or try any kind of restrictions, is the free market will have its way on this. And what I mean by that is, I think we are seeing a lot now in the second or third year of the transfer portal where guys are realizing en masse that the grass is not always greener and you can always be replaced. And that's obviously always been the case in college sports, but when it was a lot tougher to transfer, you didn't realize that firsthand. So a guy, wants to transfer from Baylor to a Florida and say, oh, I want to play in the SEC, and you're putting up the same numbers there, and you don't have the same coaches that you've had for 2 years, and you're not developing as much, then it's like, well, I went from a day 3 pick to a day 3 pick. And I didn't win anything, so and then they enter the transfer portal again. We saw it with Charlie Brewer here at Baylor. He was he had done his time at Baylor, transferred to Utah, and thought that was going to be a great situation. And it wasn't. He got benched, and he was like, well, now I need to go find somewhere else again. And there's countless examples of that. So I think we might actually see, before there's restrictions, we might just see kids being more hesitant to do it and saying, I do have a good thing here. We're seeing it actually a lot in basketball too, where, you're seeing guys from a star player at Alabama going to the Final Four, and you're in the transfer portal, and you're going to Kansas, which is a great position of sure, but it's like, okay, but you were just in a great situation. Or another one, AJ Storr at Wisconsin. Like, yeah, you didn't have a great year at Wisconsin, but you could be back in the Sweet 16 a year from now. That's not crazy. And instead, you left a good situation for an unknown. And I think a lot of athletes are starting to realize or see it like that I'm leaving a situation for an unknown rather than just a straight up promotion. You know what I mean by that? Am I getting? Yeah. I'm famously not good at getting my point across.
Well,
so
I think it's worth mentioning on that point that as a college football fan, and I know there are a lot of traditionalists who listen to the show and like what college football was 10 years ago. I get that. I understand completely.
So did I, but yeah. For other
then
reasons.
Again, I do believe those are the same people that when Jerry Blow, the 4-star wide receiver who holds 6 records at Western Kentucky, commits to your school in the transfer portal, you're the one who's fired up about that. You don't care about Dan Smith, who he's replacing now. That's not a conversation you're having in your household when you're high-fiving everybody because you landed this blue chip transfer recruit. So I think what we have to understand is there is some good for the fans. It's not universal. Sure. This is good for everybody, right? Some kid's betting on himself and he's going to lose because of the way the portal is built. However, this is going to help you and your team when that Western Kentucky kid comes to your school and catches 15 touchdowns next season. Let's go into.
We don't care about the little guy.
Transfer portal.
We don't care about the little guy.
Never have in college football. We care about money. Kentucky wants to rob Baylor. They've done it once now. They try to do it twice. Will they go thrice? This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Look, FanDuel is where I go when I want to make money. Oh, rent is coming up? FanDuel.com/locked on is my place to say, I think Cole Reagans is going to have 9 strikeouts in his baseball game. And sometimes he does. New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs and slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on today.